Schroeder?
Here.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Here.
Vice Mayor Fisickelli?
Here.
Mayor McKay?
Here.
We have a quorum.
If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. Greatly appreciated. Nice to see everybody. And anytime you're bored on 2 Thursdays of the month, we're here. So if you want to come out and yell at us or complain to us or whatever, come out and do it. So, or if you just want to come and get entertained, come join us. So anyway, we're to public comment. So some of you have filled out cards. Those of you that want to speak, if you haven't, you need to fill out a card in the back. Bring it over here to Russell. And Russell, you want to read the rules? Or
Sure. Mayor, we have, first of all, we have 12, maybe 13 speakers tonight. All speakers are limited to 3 minutes. We utilize the first half hour of the meeting for public comments. If more time is needed, council will, at their discretion, provide more time. All comments must be on non-agenda items, and all speakers must fill out the request form, which we have prior to. And speakers will be called in the order the request cards were received. I have 13 request cards. We'll start off with Gay Chapels as the first speaker, Mayor.
okay.
Yeah, I'm getting handy with this thing. Gay Chapels from Southwest Ranches on, God, let me see, 5901 Southwest 160th Avenue. That's a little foggy. I'm taking pain pills. Deal with me. First of all, I want to say thank you to the volunteer fire department. They were the first ones there when that fire happened in Rolling Oaks with that young man's hard work for several years. In fact, I was told by my daughter that he got his first turtle donation from California. So people are sending him stock so that he can reestablish what he was doing, which is trying to save the land turtles and some of the rarest ones. He had some that were extremely rare. So anyway, I want to thank the fire department for doing everything, the volunteer fire department for doing everything they did. My next thing is that I understand that Tractor Supply would like to come into our town and be on Sheridan. And if so, I want to let everybody know that I'm behind it. I make that Clewiston run a lot for material, for food. They carry everything, almost everything. And if they don't carry it and you ask for it, they get it. And I don't think it will hurt us on Sheridan. If you go down Sheridan, it's either Sunshine, either Pembroke Pines on both ends, or Nursery. And as far as Rolling Oaks is concerned, it's kind of an island among itself. It has no way of getting into Rolling Oaks at all. So I wish that if this is true, that you will definitely consider it. It's a real asset to us. We need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next speaker is Terry Duke.
Terry, you're up.
Go. I'm Terry Duke. I live at 5745 Southwest 130th Avenue. I'm here for the Tractor Supply. I can speak a long time. I think it'd be a crime. I know you got your short one vote or two. It's a crime if you don't allow Tractor Supply to come in this town. It fits. Tractor Supply, it's good DNA for the town. Again, if you guys don't get these people in, we have a very low tax, where we collect money on commercial. What do we got? You got the Publix, you got Lowe's, Pancake House.
shopping center over there. Couple.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got a few places. Tractor Supply would be a good fit for this town. Okay.
Next speaker is Brian Hoteling, followed by Newell Hollingsworth.
Brian Hoteling, 4810 Southwest 196 Lane. I sit on an advisory board for this town for about 15 years. And we've always looked for something to fit in our rural lifestyle. We always talked about having businesses in this town, but we don't want to put them in the inner part of the city that affects the residents. This is a perfect place to put one, that what we all use, all the products that they sell, that fits our rural lifestyle. We couldn't get a better fit. For to deny us that, we have to go to Homestead or Clewiston, way up there. It's facing Pembroke Pines. It's not hurting us. The road's already widened. So I just want everybody to know that I'm behind it, and everybody that I've spoken to said, oh, fantastic, they want it. So please consider that, all of us. We've been asking for something for this town for a long time, and it comes on our doorstep, and one person or two are going to turn a blind eye to it. That's terrible. Thank you.
Newell Hollingsworth, followed by Marvin Holt.
Took me a minute to get up. I'm banging my knee today. Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. The first thing I was going to talk about is mosquitoes. We're starting to get them the size of buzzards out by us, and we need to get some spraying, preferably aerial would be best. They'd take care of the most of them, but I haven't even seen a truck buzzing around at all. Okay, now let's get to the main thing everyone seems to be talking about, the last two speakers. I don't know why we're even talking about this right now. We got a building and zoning in progress where this can't even come before the council. Not till after the election in November. And then it's going to be at least a year or more, because it's got to go, if it passes, it's got to go to the people to vote on it. Also, this council has voted twice not to allow development on Sheridan. And we have a wonderful place out west, which was already zoned before land use on US 27. I think US 27 would be the perfect place for it. I don't have any objection to that as a business, because I don't know anything about that business. And we're going to have to take a look at it when it comes up. But on Sheridan, the council's voted no twice. And we've got a zoning in progress, so nothing can be done until after November to change the comprehensive plan. And that's what has to be done, because that is not an agricultural enterprise. That is a commercial enterprise. So it has to go on commercial property. So what are we talking about? We're just spinning the wheels in the mud right now, ladies and gentlemen, that are up here to talk about it tonight. Nothing's going to happen until after November election, one way or the other. Because zoning in progress is in effect until after the election. Thank you.
Marvin Holt, followed by James Pilgrim.
Marvin Holt, 13760 East Palomino Drive, Southwest Ranches. Only 47 years there. Newcomer in the town. And I think this is a good Tractor Supply. Is a good idea, because there's a lot of stuff that we need. I need fence posts and fence and all right now. And I hate to have to drive up to Clewiston to do it. So I think it's a good idea. I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Next speaker, James Pilgrim, followed by J.C. Freeman.
My name is James Pilgrim. I live at 5600 Hunter Lane, Southwest Ranches. 7.5 acres. I got 30, 40 horses, few cats, few dogs. We buy a lot of stuff from Tractor Supply. I love to go there like I do go to Bass Pro. If you want to put a Bass Pro in Southwest Ranches, I'll go there too. I'm all for that. They opened another one in Palm Beach. It'd be nice to be able to just, whether they put it on 27, Sheridan, wherever you put it, as long as it's in our town, I think we want to back it 100%. Okay?
J.C. Freeman, Southwest Ranches. I want the Tractor Supply.
And next speaker is Nick Pilgrim, followed by Bob Hartman.
Name's Nick Pilgrim, live at the same address as my father. Been there for about 28 years. 28. I agree with everything my father said. It does suck to have to take about an hour and a half, well, with my dad driving, so it's about 45, 50 miles per hour. Takes us about 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get there and back because he likes to go slow, look at all the deer, whatever he could see. But as everybody said, I think that it would be a great idea to put something that is going to benefit everybody in this town, driving distance from our houses. I mean, we live in a town with horses and all different types of animals. You're going to put something that sells all different types of animals, supply, fence posts. I buy boots there for my company because they got a good supply. So I'm in favor.
Thank you. Russell.
Bob Hartman, candidate for town council. I'm going to get off the Tractor Supply just for a minute, but I'm going to address it. I'm sure you all have heard about the double horse fatality out at the end of my street, 198th Terrace, last Sunday. Got our whole neighborhood affected. I think it's got a lot of people in town affected. One of the key things that I want to focus on as part of my campaign is the safety of our residents. And although the guardrail is a great thing, it channels all the horses to one spot now. And it's not just the trail riding company that runs the operation that was affected by this. I got little kids, 10, 12, 14 years old, going out on the horse trail too, going across the same road, facing the same risks. I've been screaming for years that we need to clear those trees that hide the horses as they're coming up to the intersection. Maybe those horses and the people wouldn't be affected if those trees weren't there. I don't know how many times I've been up here saying it. That's number one. Number two, we've got to do something to improve safety. I heard somebody say, well, we need more horse crossing signs. A guy who's doing this when he's driving, signs don't mean anything. But the county manages and regulates that road. We got to get some answers from the county. They do this all over. Maybe they've got a solution that they're using in Parkland where they've got a lot of horses, or in Davie, or in some of the other areas, but we've got to have them do something for us. So I'm not sure if you guys realize how many people know about our town due to that little horse operation. Every weekend there's 30, 40 trips out there per day. I mean, they'll go out with 5 people, they'll go out with 20 people. They used to have 20 horses, they're down to 18 now. So to me, we got a black eye with this accident and we got to do something about it. Let's talk about Tractor Supply. I hate driving to Clewiston to pick things up because for me, it's a round trip tank full of gas. It's another 50, 60 bucks added onto my bill just to get there. Now, I love the idea of a Tractor Supply in the neighborhood because Griff's needs competition, so does this other feed store over here on Flamingo. And I think a Tractor Supply would be good for competition. I'd love to have it in the area. But there's some things that concern me about it. How often do we talk about the traffic on 185th Way? You put anything on that corner commercial, it's going to increase traffic. So everybody loves the idea, but there's other sides to it too. So if we're going to go in this direction, maybe we need to direct the town administration to look at what the impact to town would be, because the two streets, 185th, 188th, I guarantee people are going to not go down Sheridan Street. They're going to make the left-hand turn and go right up 188th. And if they don't want to go up 188th, it's going to be 172nd. So I'll wrap up, Doug. So I have an open mind. I love the idea as a chicken farmer, but at the same time, you know, it's going to affect Country Estates. It's going to affect Rolling Oaks. It's going to be in somebody's backyard. So those things need to be thought through before we get real gung-ho, because a lot of things in our town we don't want in our backyard. This one, it seems pretty attractive, but we need to look at the other side of it too. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Lee Lester, followed by Eddie Flores.
Lee Lester, 17570 Southwest 61st Court, Rolling Oaks. I think we need Tractor Supply because we need to give these guys some competition, and the sales tax wouldn't hurt our town a bit. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Eddie Flores, followed by Al Avello.
Thank you. My name is Eddie Flores, and I live on 15200 Tate and Shaw Trail. My mother lives in Sunshine Ranches. My sister and my other sister live in Rolling Oaks. I used to live in Rolling Oaks. And I also have a farm, which a lot of you all know, on 210 Terrace, Southwest Ranches. I'm here to support Tractor Supply. I think it will be great for Southwest Ranches, and also in general, it will be great for everybody here. Trust me. All right? Thank you.
Final speaker, Mayor. Oh, sorry. We have one other speaker after Mr. Avello, and that's John Eastman.
Okay.
How you guys doing? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Tractor Supply, I mean, fits in our town, just like I'd be supportive of any barbecue place. You guys got to push for a barbecue place at Southwest Ranches. I have to go to Weston. Or
Mission Barbecue, just kidding.
I have to go to Davie for barbecue. This is our town, man. Our town would be on every Google search for Tractor Supply. Every time you see it, Tractor Supply. This would give us our recognition for being a horse town, and I'd love to see it happen. This is my 40th year here, and we can't just keep thinking that how simple residences are going to generate enough taxes for this town. We need to think of some out-of-the-box ideas. There's plenty of commercial areas that everybody else is making money on the other side of the street, but we're just, you know, trying to hold on to something that we can't afford. So that's what I think.
John Eastman, final speaker.
Good evening, Council. John Eastman, 4801 Southwest 188th Avenue. The tragedy last weekend is just one of a series that we've endured out here for the past, since I've been here 25 years. I can think of about 20 deaths on Griffin Road, west of 75. So what's the commonality? I don't know, distracted drivers, who knows? We have a very bad spot there right at where the merge is. We've had several deaths and rollover crashes there. Claudia went in the canal. Speed, distracted driving, I don't know. But we do need to get more enforcement on Griffin Road. I think that we need to have radar units set up. I see people driving with total reckless abandon at speeds 70, 80 miles an hour frequently out there. And this is our town. We don't need that. You know, if you need to go down to Biscayne Park to find out how they curtail speeders, then maybe we need to do that. But internal roads need to be enforced at 25. You go 26, you get a ticket. I'm sorry. On Griffin Road, we need to bring the speed within the speed limit and put it out there, and people will respect it if they know they're going to get a ticket. And I think that will help a little bit if we can get the speed down. We have an attractive nuisance out there at the truck stop on the weekends. We get a lot of traffic. We've got the school traffic. If a Tractor Supply goes in, we'll have more cross traffic. Anyway, more enforcement, less tolerance from the police. Let them go out there and do their job. That needs to come from the council. You need to tell them, look, no cutting slack, enforce the law. Thank you. Oh, one other thing. AT&T is now putting in fiber optics to compete with Comcast. So we have Comcast and AT&T doing dirt work and overhead work in our town. I'm not real happy with what they're doing with people's property, with their trees, the messes they're leaving. We need to have somebody go out there and maybe do a little enforcement on them and make sure they straighten their act up. Thank you.
Thanks, John. All right, board reports. Any board reports? Are there any other guests that would like to speak that haven't spoken? You can fill out the paper afterwards. Nobody else would like to speak in public comment? Okay. Other than that, board reports? Seeing no board reports, we'll move on. Council member comments. Do you want to go first?
I guess. I'll go out to shoot first. I would first like to compliment Robert. I have been getting a lot of compliments on Robert and how he handles things in this town. And I think you should get more. I've seen you handle different issues, and it's far different than I would. I would probably be hauled away in cuffs. But again, you know, thank you for all your hard work and efforts. I was given this a couple days ago. This is our agenda. I personally find it heinous that I had to come here, waste paper, waste the employees' time, waste the cost of turning the air down, waste the electric for approval of minutes. Now, I'm glad we came here today because there was an item that you all heard about, so it actually served a good purpose. But if this item hadn't come up, we'd be sitting here for 3.5 minutes saying, okay, thank you, adjourned. To keep all these people here, and I'm going to mention my town administrator because he comes probably the farthest, it's just not necessary. These things can be put on the next agenda. If it need to be there, we can always put a notice out. We can put it on Facebook, YouTube, wherever, and let you know we're having a meeting. But to waste my time to come for approval of minutes, I'm not in favor of this. I never have, and I never will be. I think we all have better things to do with our time. I have realized in the last couple months how precious time is and what you can do with it. And for approval of minutes, I don't want to waste my time. If I really had to come here for that, I might have just called in and said, you know what, I really have a bad headache, I can't show up. The accident out west, I don't really want to comment about it. It was a tragedy, but all the facts aren't in, the reports aren't in. So until everything comes in, I think we should restrain and keep our judgments to ourselves until we know all the facts.
Let me jump in real quick on that with you. I asked the police today when they were here how long it was going to take for that report, and they told me 3 or 4 months. Was it, Andy? They said 3 or 4 months? So it could be a little while before we get the information related to that report. So I just want everybody to have an idea of why we're not getting the results quick. So I just want to jump in there and pitch in. Go ahead, Dee. Sorry.
The issue of the Tractor Supply. It was mentioned that it's going to be forever before we can even get to this. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. You people are the wheel. This is your town. It doesn't belong to us. You just put us here to negotiate and say yes on this contract and no on that contract. This is something that you need to decide. This is huge. And I can't think of one thing that would be better for this town than a Tractor Supply. I'm 200% on board with this. I can't understand why anybody wouldn't want it. As far as it affecting areas, that's on a perimeter road. What if that's where they want to be? There's not going to be any traffic really dumped on us. It's all going to be into Pembroke Pines. I can't say for everybody that they won't jog and cut through some streets, but the average person isn't going to do that. They're going to take a straight shot, go out to Sheridan, and be there. They close. Their operation hours are not like Lowe's, not to 10, 11 o'clock at night. They close up early. So for us not to do this, I mean, I can say to my colleagues, what could you possibly say to me? And I'm asking all of you to think about it, and I'm going to ask for a comment, why you would not want something like this. I think about every single person in this town that takes their ag exemption. Last year, over $800,000 was lost to this town through ag. Had nothing to do with Broward County. That was just our town. So to bring this in, to bring some revenue in, it's not a balance, but it'll help. It's everything you want out there. And it's been said, if they don't have it, they'll get it. And they're like that. They will. They'll go out of their way to get it. But it fits. It's like a baseball glove and a baseball. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And if there are some serious reasons why we should not have this, because it'll hurt the town because it's commercial, well, look right next door. Oops. Sorry. Look right next door. We have a Home Depot. He calls it a nursery, but it's a Home Depot. He's not growing anything on there. And you know what? There's more of them coming. I ride through the town. I see which ones are coming. And they're going to be popping up all over. But that's acceptable because it's a nursery. A business is a business is a business. If you make a buck off of it, you're a business. And I believe you all have the right to decide on this specific issue. This affects you. This is part of your pie. You invested in this town. It's yours. It doesn't belong to us.
Dee, let me jump in and join you just for a minute. Just want to give a heads up. The gentleman that brought this before us, I'll let Andy fill in a little bit on it later, but they came through us. I don't have any connection with it. I don't know these guys. They came out of the woodwork. But in any case, I'm in support of the Tractor Supply, whether it's Sheridan, 27, Flamingo, and Sheridan. I mean, I don't care kind of where we find a place to make it fit. But I would tell you that if we went shopping for a store that would work and fit this town, you couldn't pick a better store or with the supply, the feed, the parts, everything else they do to fit us. It's just the best fit for us. So however we need to accommodate or try to make it happen, we need to. I know the Bergerons aren't selling any more real estate. I know they're doing long-term leases or build-to-suit. I don't know if that'll work for them. I don't know what the scenario is or the category. I don't know any of the details. But I would tell you also in the process, Newell mentioned something about it's in the hold or whatever. I think it just, because it's in the holding pattern it's in, it would still require a 5-0 vote because on the ballot is going to be something regarding zoning changes and whatnot to be changed from a supermajority 4 out of 5 to 5-0. That's what they're looking for to put on the ballot to pass. Me personally, I'm not in favor of it, but that's just my position. The other thing is town real estate, buying or selling town real estate. They're going to put that to a 5-0 vote instead of a 3-2 vote like it is now. But anyhow, back to the Tractor Supply. So I'm totally in favor of it. Where we end up having it placed or where it's put could be changed, but right now the position was, and what they brought to us was 185th and Sheridan Street. So Dee, go ahead. I just want to.
I'm just saying, you have a right to not just ask us, you have a right to tell us what you want. We're sitting here waiting for you to give some kind of directions once in a while, to tell us what you want. We're not mind readers. We can't read your mind. And if this is something that you truly want, you have to say, you know what? I'm not asking, I'm telling you, this is what we want. I guess that's all I have to say. I would like to hear from my colleagues on how you feel about it. And I hope you're as strong and as passionate as I am, because I look around and I see people that are doing good, and a person like Marvin. Marvin has been serving this town for how many years? He's not talking about an hour's trip. You're talking about a half a day wasted. He could be doing something else. So you really need to think about this. Thank you.
Steve?
Thank you. Okay, a few items that I want to touch on. First one, I just want to say a couple words about the tragedy out west. That, to be honest with you, that really hits me hard. I think that's what our town is all about, is the equestrian side. I think that's the face of the rural lifestyle that we talk so much about. And to have this sort of a tragedy hit so close to home really hurts. And to be honest with you, the report may be 3 or 4 months away, but I'm not going to wait that long. I don't need all the details to know what the heck happened. I may not know all the nuances, but I know what happened. And I believe we need to take action a lot sooner than that. So I'm going to be contacting the county. You know, we have an equestrian crossing at Flamingo, and we have one at Bonaventure. We need one further out west. We need one there at 198th. And if nothing else, that blinking yellow light, when it's not in use, that should wake people up a little bit to be able to alert them to the fact that they need to get off their freaking phones, watch the road because they're in an equestrian area, or they're in an area where people ride bicycles, or they're in an area where people walk, or they're in an area where people are outside enjoying the lifestyle that they chose to live. And it's outrageous to have something like this happen, and we need to take action right away. So I'm going to be contacting the county immediately. Number two, the length of the meeting. I have to respond to that. When we have a meeting, I never, ever, ever feel like I'm wasting my time. I think this is some of the most precious time that I get to spend, to be honored to sit up behind this mic and to address you all and to represent you all. And it's an honor to be here, and I am thrilled to spend every minute that I can here. And if we have a meeting, I'm happy to be here. I want to be here. I'm here to represent you. And whether it's a long meeting, whether it's a short meeting, makes no difference to me. I'm thrilled to be here, and there are very few priorities that are higher than being here to represent you. So I appreciate that. In this particular case, I want to say that this meeting, we actually cleared the agenda. We just talked about this last time, that we would clear the agenda of a meeting to have a single discussion item to do with the swales, and that's why this agenda was cleared. And that's why we've got only this one item on it. So that was the intention of the meeting from the beginning. But it's important that we're here for the meetings, and I'm honored to be here. And thank you for that opportunity. The last thing I wanted to address was the tractor. I sincerely appreciate everybody who has come out here to discuss that. I'd like you to know that let me present it this way. Generally speaking, I am a pretty strong defender of not bringing commercial to our town. However, every once in a while, there are commercial elements that fit with our town, and this is one of them. So I certainly don't object to it. I think we need to look at the right location for it, but I think it's an appropriate use in our town, and I would support it from that standpoint. I am concerned about that particular corner. I'll be honest with you, I'm concerned about that particular corner because of the additional traffic that it's going to add to 185th, 186th, and that whole neighborhood, and they already have way too much traffic coming through there. So I think we need to look at the details. I don't know if that's the exact right location, but I think that we should be encouraged by the opportunity to have those folks come in our town, and I think we should work with them to see what we can do to make it happen. Thank you.
Ready?
Yeah. On this Tractor Supply, one thing I'm concerned about is I use them quite a bit and I know how they operate, but one thing that maybe people don't know, it goes deep. In other words, it may be right up front, but that property they have usually goes deep, and a lot of things are happening because they go so deep. I think that's something we have to make sure we tell them. If you're going to buy property, you need to be most of it up on the main road so it doesn't get in people's backyards. Thank you.
Gary?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank everybody for coming. A couple announcements here. I missed the last meeting. I was out of town and picked up a little bit of a cough, and I apologize in advance. If I start coughing, I'll leave and you guys can do something else and I'll come back. First off, just a couple general announcements. This Saturday is Hazmat in the Park, 14th from 8 to 2, and we're going to have shredding from 10 to 2. Correct, Andy? That's all correct? Okay. The Flowmobile is going to be at Town Hall on the 26th from 10 to 2, if you've got anything that has to do with driver's license, vehicles, things of that nature. Those of you who may not know this, this has just now come to light. I think it's called, it used to be called Movico, now it's called Cinemax or Cinema, is expanding. It's basically going to, I don't want to say double because I didn't do a takeoff on the square footage on the notice I got, but it's pretty substantial. They're putting in band shell, dozens more restaurants and out parcels, and they're all being funneled through that same one way in, one way out. So this is going to affect our town down by Sheridan and Dykes Road. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I just wanted, the property owner over there, the developer is proposing that. Has not been approved. That's up to the town of Davie. Has not been approved, but it is something that they are pushing and trying to develop.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So it hasn't been approved yet, but I'd suggest we keep an eye on that and watch that, since we're going to get the main impact of it traffic-wise and population-wise throughout that area. Last Sunday we had a tragedy out west. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I got a call on Monday from Bob Hartman saying, what can we do about this? And I immediately was on the phone with our town attorney, who immediately copied everything over to Richard Tornese with Broward County, and is asking him to come up with some solutions that can be done outside of the normal course of business, something that can be done very quickly. We talked about a possible horse light with an equestrian button that's up high that can be reached from horseback. It's a designated crossing area with flashing red, yellow, green, whatever lights it is, both ways traffic that stops everybody at designated areas out west. We talked about a horse walking area, identifying signs and flashing lights, failing that. So there's a lot of ideas on the table right now, and we're going to be following up with that, you know, and I discussed a bunch of them with Bob, and we were going back and forth with it. And then we'll see what the county comes up with. They know that's part of the problem, and the site triangle is going to be one of them, and that's a pretty easy one for them to fix. They can go out there with chainsaws and bulldozers in a day and clear that out. So I just want to mention that that there is items being done about that. It's not we're not waiting, you know, for the county to react. We're reacting to the county and asking for their help. I just want to say thank you to the residents of the town of Southwest Ranches. I Basically went through qualifying unopposed, so you're kind of stuck with me for 4 more years. So just want to mention that, and I want to say thank you to everybody. Okay, just to touch on the topic that's at hand right now, apparently that a lot of people showed up for in Tractor Supply. The Tractor Supplies I've been to, they are fantastic. I mean, this is like, as one gentleman mentioned, Bass Pro Shop on steroids. Okay, it's a lot of fun. It's great. The question is, where do we put it? Or where do we allow it to go? That's really what the question is. It's a perfect fit for our town. No ifs, ands, or buts. I can think of 2 fantastic locations. One is called Coquina Plaza. There's a closed building there. It used to be Applebee's, and it's got huge amount of parking there. And there's another building right next to it that's still in business but barely there. There's US 27. It's a long stretch that's already designated commercial. There's no zoning changes. There's nothing that has to change. They wouldn't have to come before us except just to get a certificate of use. So I want to make that, very, very clear. As far as them locating in a residential area, I am dead set against that. Totally, 100% against that. I want to make that very, very clear. And here are the reasons for that. All right. There is, you're going to have an increase in traffic in the residential area. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's a given. You're going to probably double it on any given road. 185th, 186th, 188th, 196th, all that area through there. The area can also become a labor pool area. In our area, with all the nurseries we have all around there, now you've got a spot where everybody can meet up to go load up the trailers or whatever they're doing. It's sort of like I don't know how many of you guys have been in Home Depots down in Miami, but there's a lot of guys out there looking for work, And we've got security issues. We've got noise level. It's going to be 24/7. Let's not kid ourselves. The average footprint of a Tractor Supply is 150,000 square feet. To give you an idea, this whole building right here is 12,000 square feet. You're talking about something 10 times the size of this. So let's not kid ourselves. That's like almost 2 to 3 acres of building. It's goes on with these. You have lighting issues. You're bringing in a great deal of people from all over, and they're coming through the residential neighborhoods. Wherever you put it on the outlying areas, it's not an issue. And the products that are sold, they're A to Z. They could be selling milk. They could be selling chickens. This is not, a restricted. This is pure retail, in its rawest form. So everybody needs to kind of understand that. And then what happens if they don't make it there? Then what? The zoning's already changed. And the caveats that we may have put in place, well, if you can't do this, it'll get back. Well, 7 years from now, they may come back to a different council and ask for a blessing and move on from there. Well, the way that you stop it from being in a residential area and morphing is you don't allow it in the first place in a residential area. You've got a domino effect that could possibly take place. All right, the property next to the Tractor Supply now just became worthless unless it gets zoned commercial. So where's next? Then the property next to that, property next to that. It goes all the way down. It's a chain effect, and it keeps on going. We're sitting here trying to legislate nurseries right now, and we're arguing about whether or not they can sell a park bench, and we're going to bring in a whole department store of park benches of every flavor and shape and size that you can imagine, with fowl, chicken, sheep, monkey chow, whatever it is that they want to bring in, that they can bring in. So we need to kind of consider that. I see it as really destroying any neighborhood that it's attached to if it's not in the outlying areas. I don't see anything positive for the town with the location that's been mentioned. And let me break in here for just a second. Andy, there has been no application that's come before the town regarding a Tractor Supply or anything like that, is there?
They have expressed interest.
Right.
There is no pending application at the present time.
Okay, so we're safe talking about it up here. Okay, if it was quasi-judicial or something, we can't do that. So I just wanted to get that on there for the record. I don't know of any homeowner in this entire place, except maybe Lee, who would want to have a Tractor Supply next door to them, 2 doors away from them, 3 doors away from them. Okay, they wouldn't. Trust me, you wouldn't. I mean, we're kidding ourselves, on that. As I said, a good spot is Coquina Plaza and Highway 27, And what if the store underperforms and they close it? Then what happens? And if you don't think big companies don't close stores, go look at Applebee's. That's the largest restaurant chain in America. They close stores. It's an economic thing.
Yeah, but their food was
Okay.
bad.
So, and I can tell you this, I will never, ever vote to put a retail establishment in a residential neighborhood. The residents here come first. We have designated commercial areas. That's where they need to go. I want to make that very clear and on the record. Okay? So, and that's considered a residential area, as far as I'm concerned, on 185th in that area. So, I just want to get that on the record. Thank you.
Yeah, could I add something to that?
Go ahead.
If they decide they want to be on Sheridan, it doesn't matter what you want. He just decided for you. Too bad. I'm in charge, and I say no. That's at 5-0 vote. So when you go to the polls in November, remember, don't vote for that. It is bad. This is my opinion, and I'm here to represent you. This is your town. It's not ours. I don't know how many times I can say this. It's not going to fit in Coquina Plaza. It won't. And as far as backing up to residents, they have certain operation hours. You talked about lighting. We can't control the lighting we have in our town right now. Go down Griffin Road to De La Flores' place. All hours of the night. Bright lights. Commercial? Maybe. You should not be told no. You should not be told you're not going to be heard. You came out here to be heard. You told him what you wanted, and he just told you no. That's simple.
That's incorrect, council member. I just said not in that location. I said not in that location. Please correct the record because
Okay,
you have
I'll correct the
misstated
record.
facts. You have
Only
misstated
on
facts.
27. So you
Did
get
not
to pick
say
and
that
choose
either.
where
I
it
said-
goes.
I did not say that either. I said Coquina Plaza, and I said US 27. Please get
Coquina
your facts
Plaza, Coquina Plaza, you know it's not big enough. You know that. 27? Everybody gets thrown out on 27. Maybe he did his homework and he researched and he figured that would be a good place for him. I mean, if we could convince him to go to 27, it's not a problem. That's not a problem. I don't object to that either. But maybe he did some research and that's where he'd want to be. You know, it is about the residents. It isn't just always my glass is half empty. Maybe my glass is half full. Maybe it's time for a little change. Many, many years ago, there was a man that stated, the concrete stops here. You know what happened? It didn't stop there. It's crept in. The lights have crept in. Commercial has crept in. And the county and the state has hurt us bad by controlling the nurseries, the egg. You talked about them bringing in all this fowl and chicken. How many chickens do we have in this town? How many people sell chickens or quail eggs? How many people are selling goats? How many people are selling cows? What's the difference if they sell it?
Well, all of this is theoretical because there's nothing really before us yet. So
You're right, but like I said, the more we beat it up, the more we talk about it, the more we can get it ironed out. And as you well know, and I know, this is the only time that we get to do this, is when we're here. So, and I'm very strong on this feeling. I haven't really heard
can tell.
anything. I haven't heard anything
I don't
to
know
make.
what my first clue was, but I could tell.
Well, it was probably all the hairs on my head standing up. I haven't heard anything to make me think that this would not really be good for this town. And like I said, if they came to us and said, hey, there's a piece of property out on 27, we'll put it there. No brainer. Go ahead. Yeah, it's great.
We have 23 acres out by 27. I'd be real happy to talk to them about that.
Well, maybe that's what we need to do. Sit you and them down and let yous hash it out.
Unfortunately, we're not limited.
I get unlimited, Mr. Mike. I'm not on the clock. And like I said, this is the only time that I can actually talk to everybody up here without getting in legal trouble. Is that not right, legal?
How about going to jail?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is our moment in the sun where we're allowed to talk to each other, say whatever.
Yeah,
We can discuss town business, whatever we want publicly, but off of this dais, when it comes down to having a discussion, none of us would be allowed to talk to each other in any way, shape, or form.
Right, we can talk to you.
We can't use one of you as a tool to transfer information.
Information.
Hey, I talked to Doug, and this is what he thinks. And anyhow, you become a conduit, and you get to go to jail with us.
But like I said, I have not heard a good reason why not. And I don't have a problem if location got changed. It's not, but right now it was presented and talked about there. I'm not fighting for location right now. I'm fighting for Tractor Supply in itself. Let's help the people out in the town.
I mean, what I heard was that everybody up here is in favor of Tractor Supply.
Mhm.
That's what I heard. I mean, I don't know what we're arguing about, because that's what I heard.
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I think there's a 5-0 vote, you know, just try to find the right location, that's all. And that's what we're saying, we got to figure out the right location.
And
but
see, it
everybody
isn't.
recognizes the importance of it.
I think.
But I disagree with that. I
all right,
don't think it is a 5-0.
Let me join in. Well, the feedback from kind of what I heard is everybody's on board. It just depends on where it's going to go. The dilemma, I would tell you that I don't know how much window of time we have or how long they're going to hang out to wait to find an answer to get them a spot that's going to work that we could all agree on. So that's my concern
I would just
related
hate
to
to
that.
see them go to another municipality, which we'll use it anyways. We'll travel to
Yeah, of
Pembroke
course we
Pines or wherever, and they get the revenue for it and we don't. I would hate to see that. That would be a shame. It needs to be here, and unfortunately, everywhere you look is in our backyards. You know why? Because we have such big backyards. We're not in little postage stamps, you know? And look when we talked about the property on Sheridan and Flamingo and what they were willing to do at one time. Put berms up, put trees, whatever they have to do to buffer the surrounding neighbors. I'm sure they would maybe consider working with that. That's all I have to say.
All right, my turn. So a couple of things. Let me say that I went out to that tragedy the other day, to that accident that killed those two horses and put those two riders in the hospital. It was a gruesome sight. I don't believe that anything that could, if we had a crossing there with a light, or the trees were cut, or we had a clearing, that nothing would have helped that scenario. My personal opinion is this. This is the problem. Whether it's texting or we drop our phone, we've all seen the commercial on TV. You drop it down between your seat and the guy's talking and the guy's reaching for his phone. You look up, boom, he slams in the back of somebody. Or that wedding thing where the guy's dragged behind the car. But here and there, I think to fix the problem long term, that there needs to be some sort of government action, whether it's state or federal, that you can use your phone on a speakerphone if it's hands-free in your car. But I think the cell phone companies and manufacturers should be required to make these things that if you're texting, if it's going more than 5 miles an hour, you can't use it for texting. Because there'd be no reason to pick up the phone if you're moving if you couldn't use it. So I would tell you that would be an avenue to, it may take a while to get past, but that'll be a quicker, long-term fix to save lives for people not being able to text while your phone's moving. I'm in favor of having it hands-free and being able to speak on a speakerphone. You don't have to look down. You can watch where you're going and be talking. But that was a horrific accident. I'm thankful that we didn't lose either one of those riders. They did get hurt pretty badly. I think one was flown out and the other one was transported. I got out there, I guess, about an hour after it happened. And the guy that was driving the truck was still there. His truck is totaled. It's a Toyota Tundra pickup truck. And I didn't see, I took a lot of pictures myself, but I didn't see any skid marks at all. So I've got to wait till we get the accident report related to it. But I think the clearing of those pine trees, as Bob mentioned, would be number one, a great first start to get the access and the view opened up a little better at that location. I'm in favor of some sort of crossing. It needs to be where the gates open. I don't know, is it 3 or 4 sections of the Griffin Road side that it's opened at?
There's different sections, 4 different openings.
Yeah, so there's 4 different openings that the riders tend to cross at, so they can get across and get behind that guardrail and be on the canal bank, and then they're out of harm's way, so to speak, related to automobiles. So I'm in favor in whatever actions we can do, as Steve mentioned, moving forward right away, and as Gary mentioned, to do what we can. But I think long-term, we need to push Tallahassee or Washington or somebody relating to texting that if your phone's moving more than 5 miles an hour, that you shouldn't be able to text, maybe. I mean, unfortunately, if you're a passenger in a train or riding in a car and you want to use your phone, it takes it away from you. But, you know, texting is, I got to tell you, I think texting is more dangerous than DUI. So I think if you did the math or the formula related to accidents and that whatnot, I would tell you it's probably going to come out higher than DUI. But anyhow, as far as the tractor supply, I'm 100% in favor of it. Question is just the location, you know, and timing. If we can accommodate them, I don't know how long they'll stay on the hook. I believe, and from what I asked Keith in the past, in a scenario like this, since we have the, it's on the ballot in November for this 5-0 vote, if that 5-0 vote fails, it goes back to what it was, which was a supermajority, 4 out of 5. So it stays the same if it gets voted down, just so you know. And as far as the other 5-0 vote for town property or buying or selling of town property, which would go on the ballot for you all to decide, that would revert back to 3-2 if it doesn't go the 5-0 vote. So my personal position on both those is I'd like to see them both fail. I don't think we need it. A 5-0 vote makes one person up here be able to control this council. And I don't think that should be real. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So anyhow, I'm good with my comments, but if you all, I thank you all for coming out. If you've got anything, most of you have my cell number. If you don't, anybody else out there knows my cell number, feel free to call me. If you've got input, issues, suggestions, recommendations, I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, Freddie, go ahead.
It's one thing that hasn't been brought up here. I think it needs brought up is Griffin Road is county, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Who controls signs on? Who controls the signs that are on Griffin Road?
The county.
Yeah, it would be the county, Vice Mayor.
Well, I think it's very important that we start some way making sure that road is well with signs telling people this is the horse road. We need to take precaution before horses while you're driving on this road so they're aware of it. Because we got people coming here from out of town. They get on that road, they don't know anything. We need to make them aware of what we are. We're a horse town. We got horses on the road. We need you to help us protect these people.
I agree with what Freddie says, but the other thing, Steve, I think every place, and the rest of the council, I think every place there's a break in the guardrail on Griffin Road west of 75, that there should be signage related to horse crossing.
Yeah, I think there should be signage. I agree, and we need to take a look, see if there is there. I think in this particular case, or any case like this, similar to this, I think that the blinking yellow light, you know, when it's not in effect, and then obviously a red light when it is in effect, I think is probably the most effective that way, because that'll wake you up regardless. You know,
one would hope.
If that, or let's put it this way, if that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. Okay, so I think that's what we need to pursue at this point. I think it's the best we can do. I don't disagree with that. The base problem is still there, but as far as what we can control and the difference we can make, I think that's what we should go towards.
I agree with Steve. You're going to have to do something different, because where that accident took place, there is a horse crossing sign there.
Yeah, I mean, a horse crossing sign is a good thing. It's not a bad thing,
No.
but it's not enough.
It's not enough.
A light
So
feature would help.
if they
Not a-
put in a light where you could hit the button,
Yeah.
that flashing yellow light would probably wake somebody up.
Yeah, and that as was mentioned before, that area is used constantly on the weekends. And it's used a lot during the week, too, by the way. But it is used constantly on the weekends. I mean, it is rare that I go through that section and I don't see a horse rider on the weekends, which is a fantastic thing. It's a wonderful thing. It makes me proud every time I see it. But we have got to protect those folks, and we've got to do everything we can. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Legal comments?
None.
None. Okay, sir.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Pleasure to
coming
have
to
you.
fill in. We greatly appreciate it. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I've always got to be ready to go right away when Keith isn't here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just a few things. Multiple council members have discussed signage out west in relation to this unfortunate, horrible accident that occurred. Councilmember Braycruz, you mentioned reaching out to the county. Just want to let you know, Councilmember Jablonski did speak to the town attorney while I was out of town last week. They did send an email, or Keith did send an email to Richard Tornese, so there's been some back and forth there. Independent of that, Davie PD also reached out to Andrew Sebo, who's now the acting director in place of Scott Bruner. So multiple people in the county are aware of this. We're in the process of trying to set up a meeting from a staff standpoint with them. So while it may take a while for the report to be finalized, we are looking to meet with the county as quickly as we can so that we can step up our protection out there.
I'm going to follow that up with notification of my own.
Certainly, it's only going to reinforce our efforts, so it's certainly not a problem. So I don't have an issue with that. So we will continue on that. Mayor, you talked about the issue with texting and how that's an issue. Just maybe a reminder to all of you, our state representative, one of our state representatives, Rick Stark, that is texting while driving is one of his pet issues.
Okay.
And it's something else maybe you want to reach out to him, especially if it turns out that.
Let me ask another question or add to for legal. Maybe we can do a resolution of some type related to that to give him some additional support. What do you guys think? Like texting while driving?
I thought we already have that.
I wasn't sure if we have that or not, but
Yeah,
if we don't.
I thought we already did a resolution on that.
Yeah, listen.
Well, we can certainly reinforce it, and because it's non-binding, it's really a request to the state.
Yeah.
So we can do it again, certainly in light of the
All right.
recent tragedy.
Well, see what Keith or legal, what's required related to that, but let's give them more lead in their hammer.
Not a problem. Just want to remind you, we've got our state representative. It happens to be one of his pet issues. The best we can do is continue to work with him and give him a little bit more ammunition as well. Just want to give you an update on the fire station out west. We're getting very, very close. They've had and passed their final inspection for the tie downs, for the plumbing, for the electrical. We're in the process of trying to get that energized now with FP&L. Pending is Comcast, and we've got some work to do out there from a little bit of paving and walkway. But the ramps are in place, and the painting, I believe, commenced, and they're in the process of doing the skirting around the bottom of the building. So I'm hopeful that by the time
end of the month,
next
maybe?
week, hopefully by the end of next week, we should be either there or very, very close, assuming we don't have any surprises. But based on the inspections that we've had completed, we should be in pretty good shape. Comcast has been a little not as on top of it as we like, but we're after them to expedite that. Because that ties into fire suppression system, ties into Comcast for notifications, so we need to get that done. And obviously we need to get the power on with FP&L, so we're certainly working our contacts with that as well. So I just wanted to update all of you and let you know that we're making good progress on that. And while we're talking about progress on capital projects, just want to let you know, whether you've all noticed or not, we've had some good progress going on Founders Park here over behind CVS to the east of town, and I want to specifically thank George Morris because that project had kind of lagged for a little while. We were having a lot of trouble getting contractors in, getting quotes, getting things moving, and George has stepped up and helped us do that. So We've got some little things to finalize over there, but looks like we should have a couple of ribbon cuttings upcoming between the fire station and the park. So I wanted to share that with you all. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Let me add to your deal or whatever. Fortunately, George Moore's just texted me and said, as LED solar-powered crossing warning signs, a horse rider can push a button and the sign flash bright amber, and they're very effective, supposedly. So any of you that want to have an idea, don't know what it costs, but it's a county, since it's a county road, maybe we can give them the suggestion or recommendation related to being solar-powered that we can get it done quicker.
It's a safety.
So I would think that would be, we would add that in our conversation then, that solar-powered, so we don't have to wait to get electric. So thank you, George. Greatly appreciate it, bud. All right, you're done?
Yeah, I'm done, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, regular meeting approval of minutes. Number 9.
No.
Mayor, you skipped over item 8.
Yep.
Huh? I'm gonna after that 10.
Oh, you want?
I'm going to 10 on you.
Okay, because item 8 is the discussion on the swale, and 9 was.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, go to 8, discussion on the swale. Sorry, I jumped ahead. All right. Go ahead, all yours.
Yeah, all right. Mayor, as you all know, previously I'd supplied you all with a memo that Sandy Luongo had put together dealing with swale damage and some of the challenges we're facing, whether that's recent damage, whether it's old damage, whether it's extensive damage, whether it's canal banks. And so we were looking for some policy direction from council. We have not budgeted funding for swale repairs. Not only have we not budgeted for it, but it's also on private property. So we're not in a position as a town standpoint to be able to go in and make those repairs. So we've got issues there. We've got private property issues. We've got some homeowners don't care. Some maintain it. Some have had issues there. One of the challenges for us is trying to determine, if we get a complaint, what was the proximate cause? When did it happen? Because we have Waste Pro that's taken over our collections as of October 1st of last year. Before that, we had a different vendor. We were with SWS/LGL. They were using some of their own contractors. Independents, they were using some of Bergeron's contractors. So there were multiple people who were doing the bulk pickup at that time. And in between the two, we had a hurricane. So we had a whole lot of debris that was stacked up for extensive periods of time. And we had contractors who were working for our emergency providers who basically came from anywhere all over the country, came down here and were working. So from our standpoint, from a staff standpoint, it's difficult for us to hold a particular vendor responsible unless, it happened yesterday, it wasn't there on Monday and the damage was there on Tuesday.
Catch them in the act.
But on the old damage, it becomes very difficult for us to do that. And some, as I said, some residents are concerned with it. Some residents aren't. Some maintain it and make their own repairs. Some will call us. And so from a staff standpoint, it's getting very challenging. And this is something that Sandy and Susan deal with complaints all the time. Code deals with issues, bulk related. And what I wanted to do was kind of put this up for a council discussion, just so that we get a little bit of a policy direction from you on not only how you'd like us to handle that, but how we handle the residents who have those issues. And we didn't put a PowerPoint together. We do have pictures of the different examples of damage, which Russell can go through just very quickly. I think you all have copies of that up here as well. So Russell, if you just kind of go through it, we have fresh gouging, minor damage, major damage, and a canal bank issue. That's an example of fresh gouging. You can see where the dirt and the sod have recently been disturbed. In a case like that, we know that's something that's happened in certainly in very recent memory. The next slide is minor damage, and this is really a classic example of going back to hurricane debris, where something might have sat on somebody's property for months, and it's killed the sod, and so we've had some issues with that. Major damage, now you start to, the claw may start to dig in, and you start winding up with some pitting, some holes. And then the last one that we face is a serious problem is on the canal banks, because we wind up in a position where not only does the debris potentially fall into the canal, but we can have some erosion of that canal bank, and that can be a problem. Those issues, certainly the canal bank, and actually most of this happens to be within Sunshine Ranches. It's not as big a problem further west, although it certainly exists, as I'm sure you've all seen, but the canal bank specifically is really a Sunshine Ranches issue. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to council. Mayor, whether you want public input or not, I defer to you and to the council, but from a staff standpoint, we'd like to get a little guidance and get your thoughts on this.
All right, council, you want me to reach out to the public first? Or do you guys want to have some input and then reach out to the public? All right. Well, we'll reach out to the public first. So any public comment, feel free to come up and speak.
Noel Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. I've already commented to various staff members and Andy on occasion about the foxhole that's being dug every 2 weeks on my property in the front, and then it's not my responsibility to fill it back in because I've already filled it back in after the hurricane. Debris people came by and removed several hundred yards of dirt, it seemed, in my swale. But it's a matter of the clamshell operator not being trained competently. In the previous vendor, the clamshell operator would take up the most of it, and then he'd use that implement that has not come off the truck yet since Waste Pro got it, and it's called a rake. It is still there, brand new, on the truck. And they would rake it up, the previous vendor, and then the clamshell would come down and pick up the last little piece, leaving the grass underneath. We don't have that now. It's a matter of training. Also, if they got an incompetent clamshell operator, the previous vendor, they would replace the dirt, and they were required to replace the dirt. We pay for dirt out here. We're very protective of our dirt. We don't want it removed. So I've mentioned this to the clamshell operator several times, that he's gouging the property, and he's got to be more careful. And I sort of get a blank stare, and okay, gets in the truck and drives down to the next one. The clamshell comes down at 60 miles an hour straight into the dirt and grabs it up and takes it away. So, okay, enough said. Next person.
John Eastman, 188th Avenue. Newell's point is right on. One of the differences this new contractor has with his equipment, the Bergeron operator had a clamshell that had a blunt set of jaws. They had a piece of pipe welded. They were not sharp, and they would have to actually clamp on things and lift them. Newell's right on the money with the operator issue. That's where our problem is coming in, but also the bucket design needs to be modified so that it doesn't gouge. And what he said about the rake, I watch this all the time. I don't even put stuff out anymore because they are just destroying the front of my house. So I'm paying to get rid of my waste elsewhere because I don't want the front of my house gouged up. So it's a training thing with the driver, and we need to have them install the blunt end on the bucket so they can't actually dig. And they should be required to replace the dirt where they're making these deep holes. And this kind of stuff on the canal bank, we have a lot of other issues going on with that. We can't allow that. Our drainage committee has come up with a slab recommendation to new homeowners. So, but that's not going to fix this kind of stuff.
Anybody that wants to do that slab thing, whether it's new or not, if somebody would like to do it, are welcome to do it. I think we have a plan, don't we, here at Town Hall?
I'll give you an idea, but Rod is going to draft something up.
Okay.
It can kind of just be fit in, where you need it and put down as needed to combat this. But it is operator error, and they do need to modify their bucket, and I think we'd get improvements on both. And also, they need to actually get off the truck and maybe rake it up, because they see something over there. He takes the clamshell and picks up a leaf and rips all the grass out. And if you want to come by my house, I'll show you what they've done there. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
Bob Hartman, 5441 Southwest 198th Terrace. we seem to be stuck on canal banks and garbage truck damage. I think we have a much bigger problem here with swells in the residential areas that are flooding. We've done work on 185th, 184th through that area. I came through there the other day after one of our mega summer rainstorms, and they seem to be worse this year. And the yards are converging as the water is pouring across the street, seeking, the lowest spots. My own street, my neighbors have all built these giant banking driveways without a pipe, and they've all filled in their swells. So same thing. And there was a kid coming down the street, what was it, Tuesday night when it rained? And this kid starts fishtailing as he hits a giant puddle. When I was a kid, my grandmother lived in Fort Lauderdale, and they had rock along the side of the road. It wasn't the most beautiful thing in the world, but it was there to drain. And Broward County used to come through with the blade, maybe it was City of Fort Lauderdale, came through with the blade and kept it clean. Now, if you're cleaning it out every 2, 3, 4 years, people will become disinclined to spend money to refill it if they know the town is going to come back and fix it. So realize our budgets are very tight, and trust me, I'm not looking to try to spend more money, but we probably need to figure out how we can re-swizzle some things over time to correct these problems, because the residents aren't going to do it. I wouldn't do it to my own place. But if I knew that it was going to get cleaned out for me, I probably would never have, I didn't fill mine, but, people would be disinclined, as I said. Mine drained very nicely. Thank you.
Take your time, Gay.
One more fall. These swales are a problem, and it's a multi-problem. We talked about it at the drainage board. We even made a recommendation that especially in Sunshine Ranches, where they're predominantly canals, that they put, but it wasn't mandatory, but on new homes that they put in a small concrete or paved station, so to speak, for them to pick up the bulk pickup. I don't know whether or not they're doing that now. I have no idea. George is building a couple in Sunshine Ranches. He could possibly tell you if they are. But they seem to be the ones that are hit the worst. When you get out west, or where I live, which is Green Meadows, Deems Ranches, Sunshine, whatever, there's holes where they're picking it up. I'm at the point now where I put it on the paving. I have a paved drive, and I put it on my paved drive for them to pick up because they were digging such a deep hole. And my only other complaint is they, just like he said, there's one guy and they don't rake. And I'm not blaming the guy. If they're sending one guy out there, he's got to drive, get off, and pick up the debris, and then get back in the truck and drive to the next one. So maybe, and he's on a time schedule, I have no idea. But there's a lot of debris that is left, and then I wind up raking it up and putting it in the garbage can, and then setting the garbage can out 2 weeks later, which then I have more to rake up. So you got problems on your hand.
Tommy Pender, 4511 Southwest 133rd. And I do the same as she. I put it on my one of my driveways, but I just noticed this morning as I was out there, they already got 2 gashes in my driveway. So as he stated, they need to remodify the buckets probably so you don't get the digs in it. That doesn't work either.
Thank you. Anyone else on this matter? Seeing no additional comments, public comment is closed. Back to the council.
Hey, can I chime in?
Go right ahead.
Outstanding. Few things observational. One is the fresh gouging. I think that's a no-brainer. That's an easy fix. If it's fresh, it needs to be repaired by the company that just created it, which is Waste Pro.
Agreed.
The canal damage, I think that's something we need to address because it is a drainage issue. And I don't know if we need to address it through engineering, or we need to enact something that Ron's got something he can pull out of his hat, or something that he knows that we don't, on how to repair that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The only thing I'd add to that is on the canal specific, we may want to get some input from Mike Crowley, since it seems to be more of an east side issue. So I think anything we're going to do there that would impact the canal banks, I think it would be appropriate to get input from Mike Crowley.
Yeah, I concur, Central Broward drainage.
Yep.
The third thing that I picked up on is the modifying the bucket on the claw.
Great.
And, I never thought about it, because I really don't have a problem where I'm at. We get gouges and I fill it in, and grass grows over it, and it just depends. And I move the pile around, as my neighbors do. So we move the pile around. So it really hasn't been a major issue out in my neighborhood, but it is issues out east, in the east side of town. And I think the canal banks are the most susceptible. I can't imagine a bulk pile. I would love to see that gouge that canal with all with the bulk that was on that little 2-foot strip. That must have been something to see, because I know after the hurricane, I had one bulk pile that was 75 feet long. I measured it, and it was 4 feet wide. I mean, it was all taken care of by FEMA, but I mean, it was huge, and they were clawing it all the way along, and my place got pretty well tore up. But you know what? It's raining, the grass is growing, and every 4 days I got to cut it. You know? So I can't wait for the dry season, as far as that goes. So I think we need to, as a priority, start with the canal banks, and then work our way back to the major damage and the minor damage. The fresh gouging, we can probably remedy that with a modified bucket and an immediate fix by the company. Those are my thoughts.
Next, anybody else? Steve?
Yeah, I appreciate all the input on this. I think it's good to be able to go through this. A lot of what has been said I agree with. I do think that one of the keys here is the bucket. I think that's a great idea. John, appreciate that. I think that there is, I just want to kind of get on the record the fact that there is a significant difference in the damage now versus what we've historically had. So the world has changed. I think Waste Pro has done a lot of things that are really good, and overall I'm very pleased with them, but not everything. And this is one of the things that I think needs to be improved. I think the makeup of the bucket could be a key to resolving that. I also, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to throw it out there because it is what I personally have observed. Whether it's 100% true or not, I don't know, and I would wait for some feedback to either confirm it or change it. But historically, I have seen this truck operated by an operator who's not inside the truck. The controls are outside the truck. They're standing outside the truck. They actually can see the ground right there when they are picking up the debris, and they can actually see any damage or if it's being handled incorrectly. Now, I don't see that anymore. It looks to me like it's being operated from inside the truck. Like I say, I don't know that's 100%, but that seems to be what I'm seeing, and I think that may be another element of it not having the same care. Regardless of what the issue is, I think this is, as I said, something that has changed from what historically was happening to what's currently is happening, and I think that we should be encouraging the vendor to make a change there. I certainly would encourage all of the residents when there is, what's the biggest motivation for any commercial operation of making a change? Financially. So what I would encourage is if this happens to your property, go onto the town website. There is a button there that you can hit and create the notification that goes straight to Waste Pro, and alert them to the fact that this has occurred. And if they are constantly going around town having to restore properties, that's going to cost them money, and that will probably be a great motivator to change the situation from being what it is today. So I think that's my thoughts as far as the fresh gouging. You know, the minor damage, I think, is a similar situation. The major damage, I think a lot of those situations that look like they're major damage are in fact damage that has been left over from the hurricane, and it still is being continued to use for normal debris. Certainly that's not true in all the cases, but it is. And in that, I think that, you know, as a resident, we may need to one time fix that and repair it, get up to speed, take some pictures so that you've got it documented, so that any future damage, then we can go to the vendor.
Let me jump in with you on that briefly. On how far back as far as you think we should fix? I mean, if it's old damage and it could be from the storm and all the other debris from FEMA, I don't see that we can go back and the town fix any of that.
No, I'm not saying the town. I'm saying the resident would fix that. I'm saying the resident might need to one time
document
fix that.
Yeah, document before and after, prove they repaired it.
Exactly.
So we have the documentation.
Right.
So when they call us the next time there's new damage,
then
they have the proof to us, and we can move forward to make them fix it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
We're on
Correct.
the same page.
Yeah, because I mean, one of the we really have a very strong line of delineation on damage,
And they have
that
cameras
is
on the
hurricane.
trucks. You want to talk about the cameras they have on the trucks?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. Well, I don't. You know, I know they have the cameras on the trucks that pick up the regular garbage. I don't know if they have it on. I was trying not to look your way too much. Didn't want to put you on the spot. We do have a representative from Waste Pro here.
Okay.
But let me just finish up a couple thoughts, and then
we'll
I
let you go.
would love to hear your response. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I'd love to hear your response. I don't know if they all have. You can answer this when you
was going to speak for me, I think.
Oh, then you jumped up just in time. But I think the major damage, you know, we do have this very distinct line of the hurricane. Prior to the hurricane was the old operator. After the hurricane is the new operator. So we do have, you know, that line that helps us distinguish the two. And then the canal, that is a bigger issue that I know, as we've mentioned, the Drainage Committee is looking at. I think they're arriving at a good solution that new properties need to have this pad put out there so that it minimizes damage to the canals going forward. But that's really a, you know, that'll have everything fixed in about 60 years, you know. So it's a long term option for a fix, but I think it's the right direction. Until then, I think we're just going to need help from Waste Pro.
No problem.
So go ahead, we'll hear from you.
As I was driving around this evening, and I live just up the street here, the first thing that came to my mind is we need to alter our buckets on the trucks, because it's basically designed for a smooth surface, is what it is. And when you do have these dead sections that may not have any grass, and I will say that our guys probably don't take as much care when there's a dead patch of grass or some dirt. And I personally ran the city when we started doing the bulk collection with the bulk truck myself. So granted, I didn't take notes on what craters like these took already existing, but you know, a lot of that was there. However, I don't think we're doing it any justice by not taking better care when we're approaching the collection. But the adjustment to the bucket will do a lot for us. It's a different spec, different application, and since it's mostly vegetative waste that we're collecting, it's geared towards a different style of bucket. It's more like a comb as opposed to a straight edge, is what I call it. And that straight edge is going to take 2 or 3 inches of dirt, unless you're really good at what you're doing, 2 or 3 inches of dirt every time you scoop it, and that comb will leave that material there and allow us to, you know, grab what we need to grab and move on. As far as the comments on the raking, that's definitely something I will take back to my morning huddle with the team. They've heard it from me before. In fact, you know, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, just staying on top of the cleanliness, but apparently we just need to be chasing behind them a little bit more. And we're definitely my ears are open to the concerns.
What about the operation that they're talking about? Then we know, I'm familiar with them getting out, sitting up in the back. They're able to see what they do, control. Is there operations in the cab now that they're doing?
No, that's got to be a different vendor. All of our trucks, you get out of the cab and you get onto the catwalk.
Okay.
And you operate from the.
I found that very odd, that's why I asked.
There's a joystick. If someone else wants to come in and help us out, that's fine. I mean, I've got no problem with it. But no, everything's on the exterior. Everything's on the exterior.
Yeah, you don't have a ride-along plan, do you?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
any other
And
questions?
what about GPS or anything? Is that on, I know it's on the regular vehicles. Is it on these too?
Yes.
We had, this is a little bit different, but so long as you're there, I'm just going to throw it out there. We have had a series of complaints about the trucks speeding and moving too quickly. I don't know if you can.
Also parking in the middle of the road and not letting traffic by.
Yeah, I did hear that earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they can hold you up 10 or 15 minutes, literally. I mean, because they'll hold you up 10 or 15 minutes sometimes because they don't think about what's going on around them except what they're doing, kind of thing. So,
understood. Our GPS, it will actually tell you when our truck exceeds the speed limit.
Right.
It'll blip in red. So we can, like on Monday's route, I can pull that whole GPS for one single route and it will tell me when that truck.
Where I've heard the complaints more is on this side of town. It may be happening all over town, but on Sunshine Ranch's side is where I've heard the complaints more than anything else, if that's the route.
Sterling, Sheridan. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions of him?
Dig into it.
In the meantime?
My family, I live right here off of Volunteer on the Davie side, unfortunately. But my wife and 2 kids travel in this area every day. And the last thing I want to happen is to put anybody in jeopardy, but I take it very seriously.
Great. Thank you.
Well, I have one other question. As far as your hydraulic oil spills, you all have a kit, I think, behind the front seat for a cloth or a pad or something to put down or whatever?
There's a diaper kit, and then we have a crew come in and they clean it and they pressure wash it.
How often do you get guys coming in and reporting, oh, I used my kit? Because I've never seen one used, personally.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen a lot of leaks and a lot of things happening, but I've never seen a kit. Now, what we have is I've gone out with the administrator or some other staff members, and we see them, and we'll come back and report them to you guys. You come out with a pressure clean, hot thing or whatever to try to get it up. But I've never seen one of those kits used ever.
They've got, there's a box also, a utility box on the side of those newer trucks. And that might be the case. It's in the kit. But if they have a leak, they should be using it. Something I'll address.
All right. Anybody have additional questions for him?
Just thanks for coming out. Appreciate you hearing the the response firsthand.
Yeah. And the accident down the street hits me here because about 4 weeks ago I took my daughter on that very trip.
Wow.
And there was people flying down that street, almost to the point that you're like, are they going to stop?
Right.
And the comment was, hey, this is a horse town. They need to stop for us. But, it's one of those
You don't want to take them
My hair
on.
stood up, but I didn't know about it until tonight, and my hair stood up. It's so it hits home. Hopefully, you guys can come up with a solution.
Appreciate it.
And if I had seen that on the website, that they crossed Griffin, I probably would have thought twice about, hey, half of this trip was, across Griffin.
All right. Well, my input on this is obviously if it's an old divot from before, that the residents need to fix it and bring it up to par, document it. I'd like to see a before and after picture, or at least for them to have it. So when there is a problem or there is an issue, that we can notify them right away and we can get it fixed on their behalf, not on our dime or the residents' dime. So I would say if it's something new, that obviously we'll notify the vendor and get it fixed. But if it's an older thing and they're complaining, they need to step up and document that it's been repaired, and we'll move forward and help them take care of it. So I think we're all on the same page as far as that regard.
Yeah.
You good? Dee, anything or no? Okay. Freddie, anything? Okay. All right. You need any other additional direction, or you're good?
I'm good with that right now, but we'll obviously get something back to you on the canal sides,
Okay.
on that issue. But the rest of it, I thank you for the input tonight.
All right. Number 9, approval of minutes.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Okay. Call the question, please. Sorry, let me interrupt. Any public comment? We've had our minutes corrected before,
No, she's
so
still
I didn't want to leave that out.
She's behind.
Seeing no additional comments, appreciate it, come back. Nothing here.
Councilmember
Right,
Schroeder?
Go ahead.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fisickelli?
Yes.
Mayor McKay?
Yes. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Second. Good. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Greatly appreciate it. You want to stick